We're live. Call the meeting of the Warren County Commission to order, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oops. Okay, first item we have is a public comment period, and I'll just go over the rules real quick so everybody remembers. This is a chance for the public to make comments about county business. The rules are you have to have 3 minutes, and we want you to keep it civil and don't get personal. And we'll call first on anybody in the room that has a comment to make their comment, and then we'll go to Zoom. One thing I want to add, this isn't a debate time or question answer, it's just time for the public to give comments. So I'll start with, is there anybody in the room that wants to give a public comment?
I guess I would just like to say that I'm here to support the county commission.
Well, thank you. That was
Had a group.
all right. No, yeah, that's great. Thank you very much. Is there anybody on Zoom? Raise your hand if you would like to comment. Yeah, I forgot one thing. Please identify yourself. Okay, can you see anybody, Matt?
Not seeing anybody. That should pop up to the front if they were.
Okay.
As of right now, it doesn't look like there's anyone for public comment.
Okay, we'll close that item, and then we'll go to the administrator's report.
Okay.
Matt,
yes. Wanted to just provide a few updates on our regular hot topic items. First, the with the ambulance service plan, the request for applications went out. The due date for that is June 3rd. So we're looking to that. We're notifying the 2 main interested bodies that are in the county, and we pushed that out to the OHA and surrounding areas per requirements. One thing I just wanted to clarify, there's been some comments on social media about the funding of the emergency medical system or services in the fiscal year 25 budget. We have $1.5 million in there. Just a couple things to point out. There was very little to no public comment at the budget committee meetings while this was posted and put in there. No one came in to comment on that. And the $1.5 million is an estimate of what this system would cost if we had providers put in for the system. And it's partially based off of what Marl County Health District provided as their base point of what it would take to run the county. So while that might not have been written out in the budget, I just wanted to point that out on public record that that's the source of that. Also, I met with Chief Hughes just to review how things are going. We were very cognizant of the flood of people that would be heading up to the campground parks this last weekend as it opened up. Had a great weekend. Greg Close, our parks manager, said it was really great. We were very cognizant of any kind of emergency services that might be needed. And Greg reported to me on Monday that they handed out 2 Band-Aids. And so just to let you know, we did have first responders on hand up there. Greg Close is an EMT intermediate, and we had another one that was brought up to be on site because of just the huge activity there. And then the Heppner ambulance through Boardman was going to be responding to anything. And so we're very cognizant. We want to get permanent providers in before we get too far down in the summer. But right now our schedule is likely to have a proposal to the commission at the 2nd June meeting for consideration of providers. That would likely mean, since also the ambulance service plan doesn't go into effect until July 17th, we won't have providers in until at least that first month of summers through. So, but we're keeping a very keen eye on that. Also in discussions with Chief Hughes, one of the things I wanted to find out is where we at with the billings. They're usually a couple months behind, and so we haven't seen our first billings come in from when they took over on March 12th. We likely won't see that until the first part of June. But that's something that staff's keeping an eye on to make sure, you know, how it's really going about. So that's just a quick update on the ambulance service plan. Circuit Court, we have the 2 town hall meetings this afternoon and evening, 1 o'clock for here at Irrigan, and then again 6 p.m. Down in Heppner. And so we look forward to some to the presentation on that, as well as a public comment on what they'd like to do, particularly with the 3 sites that we're looking at this point and want the Board of Commissioners to consider.
Before you move on from that,
Please.
could you remind the public if we can see that information online now?
Yes.
Okay.
It is available online.
Meeting, if they want to look at it.
And yes, and so that is available. Also, just a fun point, we've had 2 higher level positions. They are filled this week, and we'll be introducing them a little bit later on the meeting. We're excited to have them on, and they are here now. So we look forward to introducing them and getting them up to speed. So with that, we're excited about the direction that the county's going. Appreciate the budget committee's work last week. You 3 were on that. Big kudos to our finance director for pulling that together. Very smooth process, and we hope to continue to refine that in order to provide transparency and accountability when we're dealing with the county's tax revenues and other sources of funding. And so appreciate the effort that Kevin's made on that, and many others, department heads and everyone else who contributed to that process. Additionally, we've had, just on a side note, we've had some discussions on the nitrate water issue. We've been working with several different groups, Port Moro, state regulators, and Tamara and I sat down with the chief executive of ORA, had a great discussion with that on engagement and how to approach different communities that they have a strong understanding of. And as we look at some of these solutions, we kind of want to make sure that you know, we get past some of the adversarial talking and talk about we solutions and really come in and say that we're going to have disagreements. But as we look at this, and the county takes a leadership role to coordinate fundings from the state and federal government, that we're applying it in the right place. Of course, any of those solutions will come before the commission for consideration before action's taken. And we're just trying to make sure that we touch base with the people, and you know, don't trip over ourselves as we try to address this issue. So that's my report at this time. So
all right, thank you for that. Next up, is there any items that agenda? Any items you want to add?
nothing.
Okay. Next will be our consent agenda. You see there's, what is that, 3, 4, 5 items there. Is there any of them you want to pull out and talk about, either of you guys?
Maybe A. Just had one question on it.
Okay, the road campaign.
Maybe.
A. Okay. Anything you want else?
No. So I move for approval.
I'm sorry, I made a mistake there. It's B, I think. B. The
for the fiber work at the airport?
Yes.
Okay.
So approval of A, C, D, and E.
I'll second.
Okay, been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda, A, C, D, and E. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Next item of business is
Well, do you want to talk about B now? B.
oh yeah, I'm sorry. Okay. Do we want to have Cassandra online?
Or Eric?
And Eric might be able to answer it too. It was Sandra's.
Hopefully she's online.
Do you want to talk about it, Eric, or you want to try to get her online, and we can put this off a little bit?
Hand is
Public Works.
Yeah.
There she is. I could
Oh, there she
fumble
is.
through it, but she'll do it better.
Okay. Sandra?
Yes, what's the question?
Okay, I'll let Roy do it.
Yeah, so my question is that there's a issue with whether or not we get this completed in time. And I'm just,
Why can't I answer that?
well, sorry, and I'm just, we're looking for funding and you're hoping to get it done, and what happens if we do not complete at the end of by the timeline?
Yeah, it was supposed to be completed by September, and so I had money left on the table. So they wished I continued on and spend the whole grant amount, which I did, and I will. And yeah, I have this extension goes clear till December 31st, and I believe I'll have that done. I'll have everything completed. It's just two 50 by 50 concrete pads. So I just got to find a contractor to do that for me.
And Eric, did you want to add something?
Just for clarification, the fiber and electrical work is done.
Correct.
Okay, so we're just,
It's
there's
just that
money
extra.
left. We want to add to the project.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we can get that done by the deadline.
Yes.
Okay, absolutely. I'm good with it. Thank you.
Okay, if there is any more questions to Eric or Sandra, then I'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion to approve contract number EOF 12, Morrow County Amendment to AO1 funding for the fiber.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, now we're gonna move to the public hearing. And this is the second reading of ORD 2024-05 to adopt the Goal 3 exception for 753 acre solar farm. And our assistant planner, I think Daisy, will be given that report. But first, I wanted Justin to give a little explanation on procedure on what exactly we're doing.
Thank you very much.
County Council.
Absolutely. For this particular matter, it's titled as a public hearing. There's not testimony for this aspect. This is kind of a continuation for a land use action. As a part of that, there's an ordinance for a Goal 3 exception. Ordinance requires the second reading for it. My understanding from looking at this is that second reading of the ordinance ORD-2024-5. Basically, and then at this point, we can read it by the title, and then at this point, the board can take action to approve ordinance ORD-2024-05 without really public testimony aspect or things like that. I guess the background on these for ordinances is many times they do require 2 readings, kind of separate out a certain amount of time. The reason being to give the public more notice, particularly let's say you have an ordinance that changes certain land use options, saying, hey, you can't build certain things on property or things that were lawful before and now could get you a fine or worse. I think that's the idea when I looked at the intent from the legislature for requiring this is usually to do this where it's spread out so the public has more notice and time to maybe change their actions to what the new rule may be if it's passed. This is still an ordinance, so even though we look at this and say, well, gosh, there was no objection last time, there was no concerns, can it just be approved? No, logically you might think, well, yeah, no one complains, it should be okay. But no, it's still the set process here, second reading of this ordinance. I think it makes sense. Someone might have missed the first reading, might have missed the agenda, or maybe after the first meeting, that's when people start talking, say, hey, well, did you know this was happening? Oh, no, I didn't know this was happening. Oh, we should be at the second meeting where they're going to talk about it. So that's kind of the thought process of why it's happening. It may seem a little logical for individuals. Why are we back here again for this ordinance? That's the basis. So again, this is ordinance number ORD-2024-05. And the title is an ordinance amending the Morrow County Comprehensive Plan to adopt an exception to statewide planning Goal 3 affecting 738.6 acres of BFU land, including 152.9 acres of high value farmland for the construction and operation of 120 megawatt solar photovoltaic. There we go. Energy generation facility, solar facility. That's what everyone knows. That's not part of it there. I'm just going to try to put it down a little more language that makes sense to me. So that's kind of where we are. I'm not sure if Daisy had anything else you want to add to this.
I got a question for Daisy.
Yeah.
Maybe I want to come up a little bit.
So I'm going to recuse myself. There's a list in there that they're doing business with Minnesota Electric, and I'm on the board of directors, so I'll recuse from any discussion.
I got a quick question. That I'm not, doesn't have anything to do with particularly this particular, but I was reading through that, and then I also read the ORS that determines when the when the kicking point is where this goes to FSEC, it seemed a little bit, I don't know, it wasn't clear in my mind what exactly that criteria is, you know? Could you give a little?
So it was recently changed. So for a long time, it was 160? 160, and anything above 160 would go to FSEC, and that's of arable land. So that's also anything over 20 acres of high value farmland always requires a Gold 3 exception, or 20 acres of arable soils or 12 acres of high value farmland always requires a Gold 3 exception, which is why it goes to the Board of Commissioners. So if a project was proposing 19 acres of solar on arable soils, you wouldn't see that project. But the Gold 3 exception always kicks in after 12 acres HVF or 20 acres of arable soils. So for it to be kicked up to the state review, it was always for a long time 160 acres, but recently they just bumped it up to 240. So yeah.
That's where I got confused. Okay. Yeah. Any questions of Daisy on this? Okay. I had to do that.
I know.
Because
I feel it's tradition now.
it is. Things are gonna go right if I don't. Okay. Any other questions, Roy?
Nope, you're good.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the application.
Ordinance ORD 2024-05.
Right. Okay, so I'll make a motion to approve ordinance ORD-2024-05.
Okay, I'll second it. Second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, motion carried.
The findings at the last hearing.
Okay, thank you, Daisy. Johnson?
Yeah,
You're just verifying one thing.
just point of clarification, did the board adopt the findings at the hearing 2 weeks ago? Because this motion is for the ordinance, but they also need to adopt the findings as part of that decision.
You don't know if that happened last time?
I don't.
Can we review the minutes, or is there a way to?
Yeah, it wouldn't hurt to also, because the findings were also in your packet, to make a motion to adopt the findings as well.
Okay, I guess that'd be fine then too. If we've already done it before, we'll verify, but I'm not sure if we'll be able to have the minutes to be able to pull those up. So we want to make a motion to adopt the findings back to included in the packet. That's fine too.
Okay, that's how it was written. That's why I was reading.
Yeah, but I looked at it, I saw just the ordinance, so I was kind of confused of why when it was just based on the ordinance. So I agree. I didn't want to interrupt you, but when I saw that, I was like, well, it seemed like it was just the ordinance. So we'll do adopt it. If planning department believes we should do the findings of fact just to be on the safe side, we can do that also. It may have been done before, but we can adopt it in case it wasn't.
Okay, make a motion.
Yep, I'll make a motion to approve the application, adopt the findings as presented and amended, and adopt the ordinance number ORD-2024-05.
I'll second it. I moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, all opposed, motion carried. Okay.
Thank you. And in the future, we'll try to clarify that it's the hearing, adopt the findings, and then the second reading of the ordinance.
Right. Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, next up, we have business items. We'll start, and I'm gonna turn it over to Matt for introduction of our people.
Okay, Vincent, come on up, and Tammy. I'll introduce Vincent, but I'm gonna throw it to Kevin to introduce Tammy. So, Kevin and I, you might see us doing a little happy dance as we go down the hallway. Because of the two new hires that we have, we've been looking for good people to fill two very important positions. The one that I'm I'm excited about both of you, but the one I'm directly engaged with is Vincent Guerrero. He will be serving as the Assistant County Administrator, which is a department head level position, directly overseeing transit system, parks, fair, veteran services, facilities, and tourism. He's similar to our other department heads and taking care of that, but he's also gets to carry a little bit of my load, special projects and some other items. And then when I'm not here, he'll be the designated backup to be a connection for the commission or other department heads and taking care of things. We're excited to have him come over. We wooed him away from the city of Pasco, where he's recently been, and He's specifically been in their recreation department with special events and projects. He's managed anything from a couple hundred people to tens of thousands of people, some of the events that they've done. And so he has a keen eye when calling and checking with his references. One of them was a contractor that he works with on the events. And he says, the only bad thing I can say about him is I don't want him to leave because then I'll have to train someone else up and they won't be as good as Vincent. And so all of them were very complimentary, excited about Vincent taking this step, and we're excited to have him join the county. You want to add anything else to that? Did I sing to your laurels sufficiently?
Making me blush. Yeah, turning red. So no, I mean, I appreciate the welcome and look forward to working with everybody.
Any questions from the commission?
No, just say welcome and glad you're here.
Thank you.
And we'll have him working on a few things, so you'll see him one-on-one in meetings with me and with you all as we go through them. So, all right, Kevin, top that.
Yeah, this is a lot of words. We're a little more on the accounting, we're a little more direct and to the point, I guess. But yeah. So this is Tamara Ewing. She just joined us, started on Monday as the finance manager. That's a position that we created in November to help address some of the workload in the finance department as things come to light regarding activities that need to be occurring and with regards to grant compliance and whatnot. And she has some specific skills and abilities in municipal finance specific to Oregon counties. So we enticed her away from Lincoln County, where she was the assistant finance director over public health. And in terms of scope, the public health department was.
We call it health and human services. Yeah. So it's behavioral health and primary care services as well.
And how many employees?
About 150 employees in our department.
So the scope within her role in Lincoln County is actually quite similar to the scope of the overall county of her position. So in Morrow County. And so she'll be managing the day-to-day activities for the daily, weekly accounting functions, and with a special emphasis on the financial compliance requirements of grants, which, as you know, has been a challenge for us recently. And she'll be supervising Sabrina and Morgan. That's our financial analyst and or accounting analyst and accounting technician. So anything you would like to add?
No, other than to state share that I've lived in Oregon my whole life, and this is my first time in Oregon. It was my first time in Hefner at the interview as well. But no, I've zigzagged across the state of Oregon, and I'm sorry, thank you, and I'm proud to be here in Morrow County.
Thank you and welcome.
Yep.
Thank you.
Well, your stuff's gonna dry out now. You're not gonna have it all damp.
Well, my permanent address is still in Baker County, where I live currently.
Oh, you live in Baker?
Yeah, and then my temporary address is in somebody's backyard that's in this room. So, yeah, I'm used to the rain. So Lincoln County, I was happy to leave the rain, so.
But just with the process and everything, we're very happy to have these two. Each of them bring over 20 years experience in with municipal and county level activities. And we're excited to see them grow and help facilitate things here at the county. So look forward to you interacting with them at times and them becoming familiar faces around the county. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up will be 7B, resource planning, ERP system project update with Barry Dunn. That's finance director, Kevin. Yes.
Good morning. Good morning again. So I invited, so as you know, we've been working on system selection process for a new ERP system at the county. And we've been working with our consulting firm, Barry Dunn, who has taken us through a quite comprehensive process to evaluate the systems and needs and requirements of not just finance and HR, but kind of the overall technology landscape at the county. Included in your in the board packet, there's a document. It's actually one of the significant deliverables of this project and our relationship with Barry Dunn through this contract, referred to as a system planning memo, and it's got a lot of the details and feedback that's been garnered from staff. And again, this is staff all across the county, and highlight some of the challenges and opportunities that we have in terms of the systems that we're using. They're not going to go through that entire document, but I wanted to make sure to provide it to you. So if you had the opportunity, because it's quite comprehensive, and I think it paints a really good picture, and better than I can ever stand up here and represent of some of the challenges that we've got, and which of course is the basis of why we're undertaking such a significant project. But we do have Tammy Warren and David Ledbetter from Barry Dunn, and they are going to take you through a short presentation and touch on some of the key elements and high points from that system planning memo and executive summary. So I will welcome them and turn it over to them.
Good morning, everyone. Kevin, am I good to go ahead and share my screen?
Yeah, go ahead and try that, Tammy, and let's see if we can have it pop up. There we go.
Great. All right. Well, welcome this morning. Thank you for allowing us to join on this session today. So today we're just going to go through really a high level of the project background, dive into some key points around the system planning memo, and then talk about some recommended decision points as we move throughout this project. And then we'll kind of touch point on what are our future planning and next steps as we work through this project. So just a high level background for where we've been and where we're going. So as you can see, the project is really designed around 5 phases or 5 tasks. So we've spent some time really developing the project base and foundation, and setting up that project deliverables and scope. We are currently in what we would consider a phase 2 or task 2, in really setting forth and developing the requirements around the future ERP system and state for this county. As we shift through that, our next step is going to be developing and issuing that RFI package, and going through that formal selection process. Once we get all of that back, then we'll work with the county to really dive into and find the best future system for it, and then kind of go through that system selection process. And then we really will end with it helping and supporting in the contract negotiation. So it's just a high level overview of kind of where we've been, where we're headed. To dive into some of our achievements, the county has been working with Barry Dunn team on a lot of deliverables. First, we kind of kicked it off with developing that project structure, building out a work plan and schedule just to make sure that we're on track, we're capturing everything that is needed to align and keep us moving forward throughout the project. Then we've been meeting with the county on a biweekly status just to kind of dive into deliverables and tasks and make sure we're on track and answer any questions that have come up. As you can see, we've been very busy. So we started off with developing an end user survey where we gathered feedback from all of the end users. We then came on site and kicked off the project. And then we set in with all of your end users and stakeholders to really dive into and learn more about your business processes, your current systems, where are the gaps and functionalities, just to help really define out the story for the county as we look to see and build a better future on your ERP systems. So we took all of that information and put it into that system planning memo. So you'll find all of our findings, some recommendations, and we're kind of an actionable item to be able to look forward to as you purchase and procure a new system. Once that was completed, we really started building out, okay, what are the requirements for your future system that are going to close the gaps in current systems, reduce, maybe inefficiencies, and just really start developing out that better ERP platform. And so we worked with the county to develop those requirements. We set in on sessions and went through each of those requirements to identify what the critical status of those requirements are, or maybe it was just a desired system functionality, and working through and making sure that we're capturing everything from a business process and a technical standpoint when we are developing your RFI package and working with the vendors. We have been attending vendor outreach demonstrations, so to really get a feel for what the current market is out on their ERP system for the county. And so the county's project team has been sitting in on those and just really diving into and seeing, what options are out there for today's current market. Then we're also working to develop that RFI package, which then will shift to and issue out a formal process for procuring your new ERP software. So to really dive into that system planning memo, what you're going to find in that document is a high-level current state summary. It's going to talk through current processes, maybe gaps in, reported functionalities. We have included, some challenges in areas that could be improved on to help build out not just technical improvements, but also process and policy improvements. We also recommended a future state to be planned for the RFI development. So in that, we're being very specific around what future ERP modules you're going to want, maybe some third-party systems that should be retained. What integrations or interfaces do we need to begin starting to identify if we're going to retain or replace? And then just what your data conversion might look like for a future ERP. We also included some best practice considerations and just information that was learned to help position the county for a successful selection and implementation as you move through the project. So in our assessment results, there were 13 functional areas that were assessed. The team participated in over 20 hours of discussion to really identify the current state and tools that are currently being used to just perform daily job functions. The Very Done team, we noted 10 primary challenges and improvement opportunities. In that document, you'll see that they're categorized into 3 different areas. One, is it a technology challenge? Is it a process challenge? Or is it a policy challenge? Hey, David, I see, do you have additional feedback that you would like to?
Yeah, the one comment that I have on this slide is actually the next bullet point with the 40 additional software applications being used to conduct day-to-day business. These are the ones that we know about. And while this may stand out as an extremely large number, we see this all the time. And when we talk about the systems that we're going to be retaining, replacing, or potentially need more information, the potentially need more information doesn't mean that we need to sit with county folks and have hours and hours and more meetings. We need to find out if the current ERP functionality replaces the functionality that's used in one of those applications. And that's an exercise where we kind of have to let the free market dictate which way we're going. But one of the things that we always call out with these is that a lot of times folks find comfort in those applications. So we're also working on some change management efforts to ensure that mitigate that risk of just overall fear towards the future environment. But that number, when you see it, it's not uncommon, but it is a rather large number for a county of really, I don't want to say any size, but just wanted to call that out. Thanks, Tammy.
Thanks, David. So in here in the presentation, you'll see we pulled out some of those primary challenge areas that I just noted, that kind of identify, is it technology, is it process, or is it policy? I won't touch on every one but I do want to point out just a couple. If you look at number 2, one of the items was that staff reported that completing repetitive and unnecessary tasks across the county, which has created some time-consuming business processes. That is geared directly towards the system and the system current capabilities, along with some process improvements. Another one is that the reliance on some manual processes that are outside of the systems due to limited workflow capabilities in the current system. So being able to implement a more robust and modern ERP system is going to help reduce the efforts that go into those manual processes. We also noted some concerns around audit issues and being able to actually improve the integrity and data integrity. And so having, a more robust system is going to help with that. And also set better controls around some of those processes. Some recommended key decision points as we work through this with the county are really to start thinking through the future state and preparing for that change. So one, as you're preparing is determining, the county resources that'll be available for the project ongoing throughout the implementation phase. So as you implement a new ERP software, it can be very time consuming and taxing, and it's usually a pretty long process. So just starting to think through what does that look like for the county and start resource support planning as before you get to that phase. And then just starting to reinforce and create those best practices that that there are current gaps in. The second one is really managing the change. So determining what those roles are that are going to be participating in the future implementation phase of a new ERP. Setting those timelines so that you can kind of work backwards if there are hard stops or dates that you really need to align to implementing a new system. And then starting to think through what is that training and coaching plan? David mentioned change management and being able to incorporate that in. And so being able to start thinking through what that approach is going to be for your end users and your power users of your new system. And then just reinforcing. So developing current process improvement action plans. So if you know that there are gaps in current processes, starting to think through what the action plan is to address those. Making sure that the key objectives are aligned to your county leadership. And then just also retaining assistance, maybe from experienced sources that can help navigate the waters as you go through this process. And then just promoting individual success. An ERP implementation can be a long process, so taking time to note the progress that you've made along the way and celebrating that success is just important to keep, the energy going throughout the process. In our system planning memo, we did note an improvement analysis that really ties back to what a new ERP address. And so you'll see that our improvement indicator here will notice, yes, here's the area, the gap that we identified, and will the ERP address it? It's likely to, or maybe marginally it will address that. The first one here is really, diving back and touching point on those manual processes and just the inconsistency of inability to be able to maybe track some of those processes because they're being handled manually via an Excel spreadsheet or in different departments handled different ways. And so being able to incorporate a new, robust, modern system is going to help automate some of those manual paper-based processes, and then also just increase your opportunity for integration to some of your third-party systems. Another one is being able to manage documents digitally. So being able to add in that as a requirement for your future system is going to really decrease the reliance on some of those paper-based processes, and then just give more visibility and transparency into managing those documents. Another one is really the reliance on some of those disparate systems and manual processes. Some of those, could be grant tracking and project tracking. So again, being able to bring in a new system is going to allow you to be able to just build visibility and better controls and just efficiency across your business processes. David, is there anything that you would like to add, as we close out? You're on mute, sorry. Okay. I think I read he has nothing to add. But that's okay.
The system wasn't letting me unmute. Now it's letting me unmute. It says the host had to let me do it. All I wanted to really stay back to was that the importance of change management from the surface level. People think you're going to be getting a new system. What can you possibly be worried about? How is there any fear instigated in that? And what we find is that both Tammy and I have worked in local government a long time and been doing this quite a long time as well, is that there's comfort in doing things by route, and that it's a little bit daunting that, though aging technology and lack of integration is really the impetus for a change like this, we want to treat it as a business process initiative to really look at those things too. And just the byproduct of that is a little bit of fear, and we want to make sure we're mitigating that along the way. The items that we've noted, we have a lot of specific examples noted in the planning memo. We wanted to bring it pretty high level for this discussion. And certainly if you have any questions on them, we're happy to entertain some of the specifics or anything like that. But I just wanted to make sure I spoke back with that.
Thank you. All right. So, yeah. So looking forward, our upcoming task, where we will be issuing the formal RFI process, then we'll be working with the project team to go through that system selection, and vet through and talk through and rate those different vendors to identify the best solution for the county going forward. And then we'll finalize out with helping and supporting in the contract negotiation. David, anything you want to add to any of those 3 key points as we look forward?
No, we're just, we've had great participation, and we look forward to the continued partnership, and we'll keep the board updated as we keep going.
Tammy and David, I have a quick question for you. When we did the web survey, and then when you came here on site, met with everybody, just to provide the board with an idea, do you have the numbers handy of how many employees and people from across the county participated in those?
It's in the bottom part of that memo, but I think it was somewhere near 40, wasn't it, Tammy? Between 40 and 50?
Yes, I can grab that. But it was around 40 or 50, but I can pull the exact number up.
So, and my point with, and I think that's right. I wanted to just validate. I thought that was the neighborhood that I was thinking of too. We got really good participation and from all offices and departments from the county, and I just wanted to mention how much I appreciate that, because people took a lot of time out of their days to come and participate in those sessions with us and provide great feedback and really help us move down the right path.
And from a project perspective, one of the things that folks often think about too is, well, hey, Barry Dunn, you guys have done hundreds of these. Why can't you just tell us which system to select? And part of the process is really working everything towards this upcoming RFI, to where as folks are describing their challenges, those become functional requirements for future software, as well as the systems we're going to have to integrate with. And all of that comes to light, along with, from the end user's perspective, and these people, the common term is the WIFM, the what's in it for me. And from that perspective alone, they're coming to these sessions saying, here's where I have to double enter my information into a spreadsheet. And we go, okay, well, modern systems kind of allow it to look like this on the front end, which improves your reporting too. We can accomplish both of these items with a technology gap. Or that sounds more like a process. What if we fix the process along with new technology? And we're starting to introduce that change. They will get to see it when we do the software demonstration. So they talked about it in the functional requirements, see it in action with demonstrations. And by that point, we've kind of built a coalition of users that are ready to take on the new contract and a future implementation. So the team of 40 to 50 people we're working with now are all going to be in some way involved at varying levels, of course, in that new implementation. Any other questions we can answer?
Well, I got a couple of questions. If you guys.
Go ahead, David.
And then a statement. One, I really appreciate this report. It was great. You know, I read almost all of it. And I guess the internal part you've done a lot of work on, and of course I'm not as familiar with the way our staff, but you've done. It looks like you've talked to people, and myself, I trust our administrators that we have now in place to know how to put this in. So, and I would no more want to question that at all. But I do want to talk about one area is the county. We've got a lot going on in this county, and one of the things we've done as far as positioning county government on what they do is we've been providing or looking at planning, maybe of providing things like knowledge, planning, you know, grants, things like that, you know, for all kinds of different projects, you know, maybe things that are outside of what used to be, quote, county activities. And I noticed you did have a section in there where it's going to help our staff track and take care of grants better. And I mean, I can see that as making us more efficient in what myself I see as kind of the division of what more the county government is going to do moving forward is helping people. A lot of it's going to be helping other people achieve goals. And is that a fair statement? I mean, I read that. I really read the grant section quite a bit there because it looks like it's going to help our staff. We're getting into more and more of that. We don't want to. We want to be able to do more without blowing ourselves up or bogging or messing up. You know what I mean? So it looks like that's going to be pretty good. Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, answer the question if it's a fair statement. Yeah, if the new system's adopted and implemented in a fashion that will streamline everything. Obviously, the tool is only as good as we make it. We're putting in the functional requirements and capabilities we expect in the new software. Certainly, we need folks to be able to put that in action. I certainly believe that the county has that team, and I think that you know, one of the things that you made a comment on is in general. So I spoke the last time we were on site. I grew up in a county in Eastern Washington. One of my first positions out of college was working for a county just right outside of Pullman. And, you know, I always say I have a little bit of compassion, empathy for counties because it does seem like counties have some unique challenges that other forms of government do not face, grants being one of the ones, just with the, you know, the vast number of services that you provide and the complexity of each one. The goal of an ERP is, you know, in this case, we're hoping to make that same impact on more than just grants and increase the efficiency in what is able to be provided to constituents as well as internal departments to be much better than what they're seeing today. I see a hand up too for my question.
No, Mike Gorman.
Mike.
Oh, Mike. Yeah. Mike's our county assessor. You know, you probably interviewed him.
Yeah, I was just wondering, could you distribute that report maybe out to the departments so we could have a look at it?
Mike, it's in the agenda
Yeah,
packet,
it's on Civic Clerk.
so anybody can go download it.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I guess my one question would be too is there, I mean, after we get, you choose the vendor, and you guys have, I got to say, I looked at your company, you guys got a good reputation, a lot of good comments about the way you've helped municipalities and business too. I see that you do business. So anyway, how is our current IT contractors, do they fit into this in any way, or am I not matching this up? Is it, you know,
I can
have some IT, we're gonna need some IT work done with it later, maintenance and stuff? Is it in our current IT department going to do that, or can you talk about that?
I can maybe answer that and then they can fill in if needed. So Jordan with Hermiston IT is one of the 5 members of the project team. And so he's been involved from the very beginning of the process. And the intention there is to obviously make sure that we're considering the impacts on actual IT systems. What it looks like and the level of IT involvement and support that's going to be required going forward is really going to be dependent on the type of system or systems that are chosen that we move forward with. So, for example, and while I think we're mostly looking at cloud-based hosted solutions, but if, for example, there was something that was installed on servers on premise, then that's a different level of IT support and involvement that's required. So that's why it was very important to make sure that we had Jordan on the project team and help guide us from the technology perspective. Does that answer your question?
Yep, it does. Yeah.
I have no further comment other than just to thank you for talking about our company in such a positive light. Our company, though we do serve private business as well, our sector of the company for local government consulting, that's all we do. So folks have been working on this project. All we do is local government consulting, primarily out west. So thank you.
Just comment that reading through the report, it sounds like a lot of our software doesn't work very well from the accounting to the HR to payroll. They don't even do their basic functions very well alone, or let alone coordinate and work together. So hopefully, I guess, this is more curiosity question, and the team and the consultant will figure this out. Do you envision one software does all these, or you have one that is able to coordinate and work together with an accounting and a payroll software, or is there a software that does accounting and payroll well?
So there's pros and cons to, we're looking at both. We've been, they mentioned that we've been doing some high-level initial demonstrations with vendors, and that's been a combination of an enterprise platform where one system or one provider is the umbrella, and they have different modules that are very tightly integrated together. The other scenario is more of a best of breed type approach where, we've looked at, maybe an organization or a provider that all they do is human resource information systems, payroll, and related, but they don't do any general ledger, accounting, finance, procurement. And in that scenario, you pick the best of each and then integrate those together. There's pros and cons to both approaches. We're evaluating both. I have my preference, but I want to make sure that we consider the whole organization and everybody's perspectives that's on the team. So as we go through this and we identify which vendors and which solutions best fit the requirements that we've put together, the answer, and the ultimate structure of it will come out of that.
That last comment's really important because a lot of times folks just generally assume that their complexity is extreme and that a best of breed solution is required, when come to find out they might only be using 30 to 40% of the best of breed systems capability, many of which is actually found in new ERP systems. So we're trying to work at it from that angle, because the idea too is that the ERP landscape's changed a whole lot in the last 10 to 15 years to where a lot of vendors are, if they're not just one vendor, they have strategic partnerships with specific best of breed functionality, and that could be payroll or a small component of an HR product or something like that. But the functionality works seamless into the end user. They may not know the difference even. So I'd like to call that out too.
I think there's more curiosity, and obviously leaving up to the people that are going to be implementing it and using it to determine. Just curious.
Well,
I was just happy to see that we're going to be able to streamline and not be duplicating work and saving you guys some of your
should create efficiency across the
country. Absolutely.
It seems to me that, of course, Moore County is changing. We all know that. And this is going to keep us on top of us. And that's what we want. We want to, if that makes sense.
So on the process of going forward in the future, I hope we're being cognizant to setting this up to where as IT grows and as we grow, that we can continue to grow with it, with the process that we're using.
Yes.
Instead of where we are today, right? We're so far behind today that we're just gonna have to recreate everything to go forward.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that's not addressed by the system that we pick, and that's how users are engaged and how users stay engaged. And I've got some experience in other organizations with that, where we've moved from everybody relied on IT to tell them what the updates were and new functionality to really empowering subject matter experts or the users themselves, all of the users to engage with the vendors and stay on top of enhancements and developments. And that was a much better approach, because people are getting their own information and keeping themselves up to speed, not relying on somebody else. So, what that looks like at the county, it's kind of a very different structure than other organizations I've been with. So, but that'll be the goal, is to have something like that, going forward. And that's more of a cultural change. And the only other thing I just wanted to note, in order to give you an idea of the scope of, we talked about, or Tammy and David mentioned, we're moving rapidly towards that RFI process and system selection. Once we select a system and negotiate an agreement, that implementation would be the next step, obviously. And I just want to make sure that I give you the full picture. Those aren't quick. That could be a 12 to 18-month process, and that it really depends on, as they mentioned, the resources, but also the systems that we select, and how, if it's deployed in phases or if it's done all at once. And those are all things that we're working through currently. So it's not going to be a quick thing, and at a minimum over the next 12 months, it's going to consume a significant amount of time and resources to achieve what we're hoping for.
Thank you.
Okay. Well,
am I allowed to ask a question, or am I off board? Am I off limits?
Well, since you're running for office, I guess. But normally we would not take questions from the crowd.
So how many employees are you talking about here? I mean, how many does the county have countywide? Is there 150, 250? I don't know.
How many employees
that would be using this system?
Well, total number of employees are 150 or so.
And so this is directly affecting 40 or 50, am I right?
No.
Not.
In some, when you say directly affecting, I mean anybody that it affects all of them, because everybody does time entry and keeps their.
And here's the reason I'm asking that, because as a teacher in the school district for nearly 20 years, every time we got a new programs instituted, it seemed like it would cost the people down the line hours every year. But the people at the top of the hierarchy, then they could just push a button and wouldn't have to spend a lot of time. Whereas, in my opinion, it was costing the district hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours for one person to save a few.
Rick, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Did you read this report?
I have not, and I apologize. Okay. And it sounds like you're all talking around it, and I just was going to throw.
Well, I would suggest you read it.
Thanks.
And then criticize it, maybe.
I'm not criticizing. I'm just asking.
You're making you're implying something that isn't going to happen.
Okay,
have
cool.
anything to do with
you're answering just exactly how I like it.
I would suggest go ahead and read it.
Sure.
Especially since you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
I wasn't clear. Was there a response wanted from us on any of that? I'm happy to address that question. I didn't know if it was posed towards us.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No. Okay. Any other questions from the board?
Nope. Good.
Okay. Well, thank you, Tammy, David, Kevin.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next up would be 7D, the Boardman to Hemingway Transmission Project request for amendment 2. That Tamara?
It is, thank you. Good morning. For the record, Tamara Mabit, Planning Director. So in front of you.
Unitil Electric isn't a partner in this, but I guess I'll declare a potential because there is the potential at some point, and who knows when future, Unitil Electric may use the services of the Boardman to Hemingway line, or one of our members may use the services. But at this point, none of them are a member of the project, but will declare a potential conflict of interest. Sorry.
No, it's good. Oh. Excellent. Okay. So what you have in front of you is the county comments. There aren't any recommendations or requests, but Daisy and I looked at this together and developed a draft letter for you to submit. And the Idaho Power Company has filed a request for amendment 2. I met with them 6 weeks or so ago, maybe longer. And the purpose of their request is what's enumerated here. So they have some different transmission line alternative locations, and we included the maps. Don't expect you to study those, but so that you had in your packet which properties would be affected in the amendment. And it has the extra value of being on the public record and in your packet. So if affected landowners or neighboring landowners want to know where those changes are being made, we can refer them to the board packet, because this is a project permitted and approved by the state of Oregon. The relocation of some of those alignments makes sense to us. What's noted in the packet is that they are changing their corridor from 100 to 200 feet to a half a mile. That's 2,500, let's see, 40 feet. That's a really, really large micrositing corridor. The letter just acknowledges that that's their corridor. It doesn't take a position whether we agree or disagree. I'm not sure how extensive the interaction with the underlying landowners is, but again, it's a permit that's reviewed by the Energy Facility Siting Council. I'm happy to answer any questions.
The map was a little hard to get into my mind where.
Would you like the paper?
Where the existing was. It was because it was page after page.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think I got a grasp on what it was. It is a white corridor compared to what it was. So. Is there public comment at the planning level for that?
No. So as part of the state process, they invite local governments to provide comments. And many years ago, the Board of Commissioners, may have been a county court then, because it was 10 years ago this project started, was appointed the local advisory group. And that's the state's model for public involvement. So we do not route these through the Planning Commission. Once upon a time, the planning directors provided comments, and we bumped that up to the board to not just in Morrow County, but other counties, to increase exposure so people are aware that it's the various processes of the permit review are underway. So long-winded way to say it does not go to the Planning Commission. We don't hold a local hearing. And FSEC is actually very good about holding hearings in the region or county where a project is located. I don't know that they've scheduled the hearing yet for this amendment. Oh, is it the one in Boardman?
They're doing both Wagon Trail and PTH.
Okay, it will be in Boardman. So anyone who's tracking the transmission line can comment at their meeting in Boardman.
So maybe this is redundant and covers what Junior is asking. So the affected landowners that maybe they weren't affected before, but because it's now a half mile wide, they could go to the May 30th FSEC hearing in Boardman and make comment.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct.
Thanks.
Yeah.
That's what I wanted.
I thought that's what you.
Nope, no, I read the letter and.
I'll entertain a motion to approve and sign the letter. And deciding MLS to Oregon Department.
So moved.
One second.
Second, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Good, motion carries. Okay, next up will be, thank you, Tamara.
Thank you.
Next up will be a resolution R-224-9, moral fence at ADA reasonable modification policy.
Good morning, commissioners. So what you have before you is the policy for American with Disabilities Act, what the ADA is, and it is the reasonable modification request policy to receive our funding that we get from state and federal government. It's required that we have a reasonable modification policy and that people, the public, know how to access it. There was not one in existence for the Morrow County Public Transit. So in your packet, you have the policy that I put together, and that it needs to, it would need to be adopted by the governing body and then submitted to ODOT for their, to have on file that we do have one in place. So it's pretty straightforward policy. It models other transit agencies in the state. That's what I pulled most of it from and putting it together, was that it pulled from other transit agencies and what they use and what has been accepted.
What's the time frame on getting it put into place?
So everything is in place. It currently just reads as a draft right now because it has not been adopted, but for the purposes of the update of the policy, or the update of the website to include it, the policy being written, all that's in place. What it boils down to is, if there's an individual that comes, has a reasonable modification to our policy or procedures, the way we do things, a request to accommodate them, then there's a set of guidelines of how we will make the determination to make accommodations for that, or if there's a reason that we're unable to make those accommodations, and how we'll notify them that we're unable to make those accommodations.
So this is just to add on to what Ben was saying, this is one of the requirements for the STIF grant, the funding that we receive on this. So as you know, as dispatchers or if people have issues with what we have on here, more or less as you've read, this outlines how we can take care of it. And so we're pretty much in place. We just need to have the official policy adopted so we can relay that to the state and have them check that out. Same thing will be said about the next policy. Those are two items that we just need to click off and have commission action.
And these will be available on the website. So
they are currently
available. Okay, good. So if somebody has an issue, they can follow the directions on here.
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Any other questions, Ben or Matt, on this?
So I'll move to adopt resolution R-2024-9, Morrow Transit ADA reasonable modification policy.
I'll second.
We moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Yeah, next up would be resolution R-224-10, drug and alcohol policy for transportation services. Ben, that's you too.
Yeah. All right.
Don't go anywhere.
So a lot like Matt was saying, this one is very similar in reasons why we need it. It affects our funding. The
the difference in this one is this is what affects our employees, our drivers, that drive our clients. And so we're required by the FDA to perform drug testing, safety sensitive function. With that being said, there were changes last June to the way testing could be done. They actually added a different method of being able to test. And so no drug and alcohol policies in the state. While we did have a drug and alcohol policy. So this is an updated one. So no drug and alcohol policies anywhere reflected those modifications that they made to the changes to be able to do oral swabs for drug testing. And so what they did is they came back and said, hey, everyone has to update their policy and it needs to reflect these changes. They gave us a few pages of an outline that said these are the changes that it needs to reflect. And so went in and made those changes and updated the policy to reflect those things. And so to stay in the compliance with being able to receive our federal and state funding, part of that being our STIF funding, this is also a requirement that this be adopted by the governing body of the county. And so what you have before you is the updated version of our drug and alcohol testing policy that includes the new language about how drug and alcohol testing may be performed for safety sensitive positions.
I'll entertain a motion to adopt.
So I'll move to approve resolution R-2024-10, drug and alcohol policy for transportation services.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, that concludes
one more. Just if I could just add, I just had a comment. I know under the business item originally, at least on the agenda online, still shows the 7C resolution for the non-discrimination complaint procedure. I know in here it was removed from the amended agenda to take more time for it. As I would mention here on the record that it was removed, I think on the agenda online it still has it being an item. And so I just want to make sure that one's not going to be discussed today, just so the public who might be on Zoom is aware. That's all.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up, Justin.
There is an amended one that shows it, but it's on the OneDrive, so I'm not sure if that's the same as what the public gets.
And I was just pulling it from the website, the civic clerk on the county website, so I didn't see it on that. It just pulled it up the same as not redlined out.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
What's wrong about Valerie? Yeah, I know she's looking at
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay. So, yeah, planning department monthly report.
Bouncing back.
Yeah.
Good morning again. Happy to share our May monthly update. Just note that we put the quarterly numbers for the planning permits in there rather than monthly. We are working on now a 2024 code update. I know it feels like you just did a code update with us, and at Administrator Jensen's advice, we're trying to keep this one narrowly focused, so it's not like popcorn where you're affecting lots of parts of the code, although it will have the effect of editing lots of different sections of the code because it pertains to primarily procedural requirements. And we're trying to make it consistent throughout our code and also consistent with state law and our review requirements. It's definitely a place where our outside land use council has been very helpful. Just noted, we continue to work on a number of energy projects. With the Heritage Trail, I should have brought Landon in. I think I'll schedule that for an upcoming Board of Commissioners meeting where he can present a final version of the interpretive panels. They're very nice, really, really nice. He just gave it the final review and they're now under development construction and should be delivered sometime before June. And Landon's been working with the individual jurisdictions, primarily Boardman Park, and Irrigan Park District to replace those interpretive panels. There's one new panel. We have to figure that part out because it'll be on land owned by Army Corps. So it might stay in the cupboard or in the storage room until we get all of the permitting complete with Army Corps. I noticed last month that the RFP for the Heritage Trail Master Plan update has been issued. We're expecting proposals May 30th. I had 4 firms interested and edited the online version of the RFP to respond to questions. So it's exciting that we have more than one firm, or at least one firm, interested in the project. Let's see. The Water Advisory Committee was scheduled to meet on Monday, and it was pointed out that the meeting was not on the public calendar, the county calendar. Michaela and I still don't know how that happened because it has been there previously and it didn't. So we postponed that to June 3rd. I know Commissioner Drago has previously reported about the Lub Guama, and the state agencies have come in and asked the local Lub Guama committee to put their meetings on hold while the state does its own internal assessment about the Lub Guama, which met with some frustration of the stakeholders, particularly the farming and the food processors, who have been eager to see some progress with the Lub Guama activities. I've been working with Dr. Shalini and Madison Anzarut, OSU graduate student. They'll be in the community this Friday and Saturday and Sunday if necessary to do sampling, a different kind of sampling. They're not looking for nitrates. They're looking for elements that might show some connection between septic systems and the well, which is really valuable. That hasn't been done before. Our student intern, Alina Estrada, is bilingual, and she's going to join them for most of the day on Friday. And between Alina and Michaela, very lucky to have bilingual folks. They've helped coordinate some of the Spanish-only speaking folks. So we'll get a good number of Spanish speaking folks their water tested.
How many residents are we at this point? Did we get?
About a dozen.
Yep.
Yeah, and they were gonna test both counties, and it turned out that we just provided a list and Umatilla County didn't. So I don't mind at all that they're focusing on. Yeah, and we've also tried to put them in contact with landowners who are in areas that, based on nitrate mapping, we know are pretty high in nitrates already. So that will be a very good complement to the EPA grant, the drinking water investigation.
And we made calls and contacted all the residents that are going to be
tested.
Either
Madison did it or Michaela did for the Spanish speaking. Should have been done. It'll be done before Friday. And that
just
doesn't.
Making sure that they're so they've reached out to me and asked me when it was going to happen. I said, well, they will call you and let you know ahead of time so you will be aware.
And I hope that's happened. I'm not doing that myself, but it's my understanding Madison has captured most of those. And
yeah, I haven't had any calls here recently. So
okay. So you're
maybe they have.
Good. I hope so. That's how it's supposed to work. But when they're in the field, they might just knock on doors to say, do you mind if we test? And which would be fine. Dr. Shalini has done that sort of work in the past also. So we'll have a good sample size, and then it's between the graduate student and her advisor to do the analysis. And I think they also plan to come out in the fall. So they're testing different seasons as well. And of course, we'll share that with GSI Water Solutions, who is working on the drinking water investigation. Next week, we will have 2 workshops. The morning of Wednesday, I think that's the 23rd, we'll have in this room, a workshop on the data, so that the consultants, agencies, both counties will share the data and discuss how to move forward on best analyzing that, et cetera. That's above my pay grade, like how to really hone in and understand what data we have so that we don't duplicate efforts where we don't don't need to duplicate efforts. And then the following afternoon on Thursday will be the communications workshop. I'm really looking forward to that. And I'll report out about that next month as well, because it will have folks from the natural resource agencies that my office typically works with and Oregon Health Authority that Robin's office typically works with. So we've got lots of different messaging about a lot of different efforts, and we're all going to put our heads together and figure out how best to message this drinking water investigation.
Are we able to use that with the committee, the subcommittee, and the LAWMA that's in the same communication process?
So Misty Edgecombe, who's chairing that committee, is involved. And we've had several conversations, and I'm also involved in that subcommittee. I hope we come out with some graphics and some things that people can understand. So I'm continuing to work with Matt and a pretty large group of folks to look at potential water infrastructure funding for a particular neighborhood, in addition to the work that we're doing. Matt's the lead on that, and I fill in on the planner parts. I put West Glen in here. It was one of the neighborhoods that we targeted for a more comprehensive approach to code compliance and cleanup. Slowly but surely, folks are making progress. With Daisy's help, we implemented a sort of a waiver. So folks sign a waiver that said, look, I can't comply right now, but I'd like to have 3 months. And they sign that. We say, we'll leave you alone for 3 months. I think that's working well. And it also worked really well with the Justice Court. And in terms of code compliance, super excited to say that we've hired Kristen Kennedy from Caitlin. I keep saying Kristen, Caitlin Kennedy from the dispatch. So Brian hasn't spoken to me since then, but I think he will.
Keep stealing his employees.
I know. But he understands, especially when you have families. This work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday is a little bit more amenable, but also just super excited to have her with us. And she asked if we could postpone her hire date to June 24th so that she can finish out that schedule and move over to us. So that was the overture we made to appease dispatch office. With that, happy to answer any questions. I forgot to mention budget, but Kevin made that so easy for directors. I know. Yeah.
Any questions? Nope. I got a question. I got a comment. I like the way you do your reports. I like the links when you talk about stuff that takes us to the original documents.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, it's nice. You know, you're reading along and then you can, oh, okay, click on them and then jump on them. So I appreciate that.
Well, that's feedback also. I think you mentioned one other time that there was something wrong with one of those links. So I don't beta test it before we add the link, but hope it's working. So one of the links, the water page, we had to redo, and mostly Steven's helping with that. So if you link to the ribbon, one of the red ribbons on the left, there's a lot of information about both the Water Advisory Committee and the Drinking Water Initiative, and then additional information. So thank you for that feedback. Appreciate it.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Okay, next up is our Veteran Service Porter Report. Stephanie Case is Stephanie on Zoom.
I'm not seeing her on Zoom.
Stephanie, if you're there, ready for your report. She is, so we'll go on. If she pops up, we'll circle back, I guess, to her. Okay. We'll go on to assessment and tax quarterly report. Mike? He was there. He was there a little while ago. There he is. Can you hear us, Mike?
Yeah, I couldn't unmute. Yeah, I'd given my written report. Are there any questions?
Not for me.
Nope.
Yeah, pretty well. Oh, one thing, maybe it was in here. Where we stack up as far as collect? collections on taxes as compared to the previous years? Are we about where we're always at, Mike, or is it?
Yeah, we're just well, when I created the report, we were over $1 million, and as of yesterday, we were under $1 million. The final trimester due date is today. So yeah, we're right in line. We're 98.7% collected, which is really close.
That's what I was thinking, more of a percentage, just as not so much a dollar amount, but just are people still, is paying is, good. But 98% is pretty good. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Any new applicants?
No,
not that I'm aware of.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Sheriff's Office monthly report. I think Brian said that he's just gonna have his written one. Is that right, Matt?
Yes, he apologizes. He got triple booked, and so he and the other person usually were both unavailable, but the stats report is in the packet.
I would note that the Sheriff's Office this week has their training, it's a joint training with the Bourne Police Department and Umatilla Police Department. The Sheriff's Office kind of week-long legal updates, but also arm trainings. I was there doing about a 4-hour training yesterday. And so I know that Brian and John were there and a whole bunch of the deputies. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's part of it too, that everybody's out there at the training or covering it, looks like. So.
Okay, next should be a quarterly lead report. Corey.
Thank you, Chair Sykes. Corey Sweeney, Morrow County Weed Supervisor. And this is my quarterly report. Starting off in March, completed the Army Corps of Engineers grant contract. And this raised some questions about the budget because it was $30,000 increase in budget for goats for the weed department. And just to be clear, the Army Corps is going to be paying for that. The paying for the goats just subcontracted through us. And
Kevin explained that pretty well. It was just a pass through.
Good. And then I met with finance with Kevin several times on grants. Attended monthly staff meetings. Plumbed that new spray truck, outfitted it with our new apparatus, and we're all good to go with that. It's been working really well. Met with numerous cities, met with City of Boardman on a spray contract. Been having one-on-one meetings with Nextera, with Tetra Tech. It's been a lot more productive, the one-on-one meetings, as opposed to the Zoom meetings with all of us in trying to figure out something. And so we went to one-on-one meetings, which have been very productive, and we've been getting further down the road, and we're doing really good with that. And it's going well. Attended a wind solar mitigation meeting and worked on the Morrow County grant for plumeless thistle. And that kind of rounded out March. Most March was dealing with the contract, so it was with these new contracts for the cities, municipalities, and whatnot, Army Corps. April was busy with, I did more spraying for the City of Boardman, the City of Heppner, and Lexington Airport. Met with a landowner on Wheat Ridge 1 and 2, met with Fairgrounds about a new spray contract, and the Fairgrounds sprayed out. Had a meeting with Haley and Aldrich with the Energy Consulting Group. Some of the other highlights, I had quite a few field work days identifying weeds for several landowners, and a lot of them reached out to me about the myrtle spurge that's popped up in Morrow County. It's kind of a newer weed that's emerging that nobody's really familiar with, and it was busy with that, with several call outs, checking into that. I had sprayed out the Aragon area roadside. So Aragon roads finally got sprayed. They're kind of last on the list, but we kind of made that a priority to try to get Irrigan done and sprayed out. So the south part of Irrigan has a little bit of work to do on Depot, but yeah, we really geared our sights to Irrigan to get that taken care of this year. And so that was in April. Met with MVU Chemical Company to review the test plots in Morrow County. Met with NRCS on the annual grass project. In May, this month was before my vacation, was mostly dealing with spraying with City of Lexington, City of Hettner. We began our roadside spraying. We're at 30% right now. And then hired a new weed assistant applicator. So the previous one, Drew Coe, he put in his 2 weeks notice, and then we immediately were able to find somebody. So Dale Boyd stepped in, and he's working under an apprenticeship underneath my license, and we'll be together spraying in different apparatuses. We have to be within 5 minutes, and we're going to tackle the county roads. And so we're trying not to skip a beat with a down employee. And hired a new one. I think he's going to be great. So that was kind of it. One of the biggest pressing issues is this Burr-Cheville weed that's come on real bad in Morrow County. South End is taking over on our ditches and creek banks, and it looks just like water hemlock. And it's everywhere, and it's a fast spreading weed. And so been working with several landowners for identification, because it does look so close to hemlock, and for eradication of it to try to get it knocked down, because it is taking over South Morrow County. Just that real wet fall and winter that we had has brought it on to where we haven't seen it like this before.
What's the nearest proximity where it has been an issue, so we kind of have an idea of where it came from, how it got here?
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah,
Sure. Can we blame it on Gillett County?
Yeah. Is it following the Mormon crickets?
So I can tell you the origin. It's from Europe. It's an edible weed. It's listed as an exotic in every state except Oregon, and in Oregon it's listed as invasive. And I think it'll go away once we start getting into maybe a more regular year without this much moisture. But hopefully that's the case. But it looks just like water hemlock, and you'll really see it in June, and mid-May to June, when it starts flowering, those white flowers on that. And you'll notice it in South Morrow County. And the best is just to spray it out just like you would hemlock and Banville, and graze on. All Morrow County can get with Morrow County grain growers, supplies to get that sprayed out for people. But it's really been educating people and getting the word out that this is really coming on strong in Morrow County. So that's kind of it. In a nutshell, the only other thing I would add, I don't think I touched on this on my last report, but we're working with MVU and Satellytics, and kind of coming up with a plan that looks real good, maybe for Satellytics on these energy entities, with whether it be solar or wind farms. There's satellite imagery that has LiDAR colored imagery. It'll tell you before and after, and where the weeds are getting bad, how they were before as opposed to how they are now. So and it'll kind of help them out. Like, wait a minute, we didn't have these weeds, or these weeds were here before. It's not necessarily all on us. It'll help them out a little bit, and it'll help if it does escape, we can compare. And so we're kind of working on that. We don't know if it's going to get totally in place or not. We've been working with the Oregon Department of Energy and MVU on that. So I'll keep you guys posted on that and see how it.
And then SWCD had their spray, the weed killer.
Yes, yeah.
Program that started was today in Irrigan,
And
correct? Till
Irrigan,
noon.
yeah. I'll be heading right over there as soon as this, and that's
Been
that's
successful and.
Yes, yeah, lots of, matter of fact, last year they ran out, which is good. I think they got more this year, but and it's nice because people, just get information about what to spray out, what to do. You know, a lot of times they just grab it and go, but when you're there to talk to them about it, yeah, it helps out a lot, so.
And then this is the last day today? Or is there one more after?
No, I think Hefner's is Friday.
Okay, Friday.
Yeah, Friday is Hefner, so.
I didn't see it anywhere. I just was
Yeah.
told through the grapevine, so yeah,
Yeah.
I thought I'd get it out there and let anybody know. So.
Yeah, free weed killer yeah. So. And with that, is there any other questions that the board has?
Questions, Corey?
No. One thing, just to let the commission know that we're exploring with the weeds. I mean, we've got 1.5 employees there as we're developing all these energy projects. We are looking, and Corey's been very proactive on looking at, as he contracts with the cities, to try to get enough revenue to justify additional personnel, because these energy, particularly the wind turbines and the solar projects, are very time intensive for Corey. We appreciate his good representation of the county going out and do that. But he's also reaching out to other counties where they've been able to get some of those companies to help fund some of those positions. So we are looking at that just to make sure that, you know, the agricultural land that's surrounding all that is maintained, and that we don't have weed infestations on this investment that we're enjoying. So
yeah,
I appreciate his efforts on that.
I know OSU Extension is still doing herbicide application training, and you can get a license through there, correct?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, every few, quarterly, yep. So
it's a tough course. I had to go through it.
It's a very tough course.
It's a tough course.
Yeah, great. Okay. All right, appreciate your time. Thank you. Yeah.
Though he didn't give a report on his eclipse chasing or his
no,
anniversary.
Yes, that was quite exciting. I needed a vacation, and that was just the perfect trip, and I'm rebooted and ready to go.
Excellent.
Yeah, appreciate that. Okay, thank you.
Okay, treasurer's monthly report. Usually Jane just gives her online. I don't know if she's there. Did you want to add anything, Jaylene? To your written report? No. Okay. Won't hear anything from her. And then accounts payable, Kevin, his is online. Then we'll circle back. We never did get veterans, did we? Is Stephanie on?
I haven't seen her pop on.
And she did submit a written report that was in the packet.
Yeah, I saw that. I just wasn't sure whether sometimes they want to add to it or something. So, okay. So we have her report. Okay. That concludes the department reports. Do we have any correspondence, Valerie?
Yes. It was in the packet. There is the letter from Sherman County 4-H as a thank you, noting that Monty donated time and resources to make signs for their goat club. Donated roughly 4,500 minutes or 75 hours and provided them with great product, and they're just really appreciative of Monty McGuire.
That's just kind of a letter of appreciation. Okay. That's what I thought. I just want to make sure they weren't asking anything. So, okay. Any, how about commissioners' reports? If you got anything you want to add?
I don't think so this time. I mean, I think the budget, but we were
we were busy with budget. So, and then I had a WOOF depredation meeting last night, and Representative Vance, Congressman Vance, is working diligently in the DC on the delisting of the wolves. A lot of the ranchers are up against it this year. We haven't had, I think it was 2020 was the last
2020.
was the last depredation that was certified, and we've already had 4 this year. So we are way above. We didn't have any last year. We sent the money back, which we've done in the previous. So they only gave us the $8,000 for compensation. So we're going to have to probably ask for more money at the rate that we're going. So we had that discussion last night. Yeah.
I guess I'd like to kind of mention that we had the cities county board meeting myself. I thought that went pretty good.
Yeah, no, it's good.
With the expanded cities participation. I don't know. I think it's pretty good. And so we have that. And then I've been spending quite a bit of time on CREZ stuff because
you're the man.
For some reason I didn't get an intervention from either of my commissioners to stop this. I'm the interim manager, so we're working on a boundary expansion, and it's we're going into Lexington. South County has its first application for CREZ, and so in order to do that, we needed to expand the boundary. So I've been working with Art Fish in Oregon on how to do that, and on that I went to Lexington Town Council last night and had them sign a resolution. It's the enterprise zone expansion property is in their urban growth boundary, in their area of influence, but not in their city limits. So I kind of went over how the CREZ works and CREZ 3, and how it's different in CREZ 2 and stuff, and they're very receptive of it, and and we have a little extra piece there that we added just for it's zoned rural industrial. Thought we'd just include that just to be prepped.
Yep.
And they were very appreciative.
And how many acres was the addition? Sorry,
Maybe you were gonna
spot.
ask
Sorry,
me,
put you on the spot there. It was a decent chunk though, right?
Yeah, it's a fair amount, but it's funny, there's a lot of land available in CREZ.
Yeah.
So
We're still ways away.
Stephen in planning's always, he keeps a running total on that. And sometimes it doesn't even hardly make a rounding, because he gives the update every time we do anything on how much land is left in the CREZ. And this put a very little dent in it. So there's a lot of money. So I thought that was kind of cool. To get one in South County. I guess that's all I have. So, question, that concludes the commissioners' reports. And now we're going to be going into executive session. I got a question for council. Are we gonna, is this gonna be 2 separate executive sessions?
I don't know what's occurring in these executive sessions. Honestly.
Well,
they look like there should be 2 different ones.
Based on there's 2 different ORSs, and one's for labor and one's for property.
There's 2 different items that we'd like to discuss in an executive session.
So I would still say, yeah, these are both. So you're entering into the executive session. They'll be separated out. I don't think you need to go into executive session, come out, and go back in again. You're listing both of these out. The conversation should be separated out. So the topic's kind of like in a business item, but you're going to executive session for 2 separate items. Okay, that's my thought. Is you don't need to go in, come back out, then go back in right again. You can do both. But 2 subjects covered, differentiating in the minutes too, whatever that they are separate, and keep them separate during it.
Okay, so we're going to go into an executive session under ORS 192-6602D to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to carry on labor negotiations. And we're at the same time, we're going to be going in for ORS 192-6602E to conduct deliberations with persons designated by the governing body to negotiate real property transactions. And just so the public, the staff members that are involved will be in, members of the press will be in, but the rest of the public will not be attending. We'll only be discussing these items, and there could be a potential decision or action as a result of executive sessions when we come out. We may make okay. Just want the public to know that. So with that, we'll go into Well.
Can we take a
let's
recess?
go 5 minute break.
Yeah, thanks.
And then we're gonna go into executive session. So thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, just to reiterate, we have a
Starting at 6, not 6 to 9.
Okay. Starting at 1.
Sorry, what? Okay.
That was
on the agenda.
that was causing a hiccup this morning.
Yeah.
Right. It was, I was like, if it said 6
Well, I thought we
9.
put that there just as a top end, so if it went to 9, we could say, okay, we're done, I'm out.
We're gonna designate
The
one
problem is-
commissioner to stay till
Just.
Oh, I'm in the way.
Oh, just
Look at that. Sorry, I don't want the camera right in my.
there you go.
Okay, I'm gonna call, I'm coming out of, like, online.
Sure.
It always says recording in progress, doesn't it, when you're back officially on?
Yeah.
Said that about 10 times while we're in there.
Yes, we are recording.
Okay, we're coming out of executive session and going back into regular session. There will be no action taken. I just asked, is there any more business to come before the commission at this time? Okay, with hearing none, then we'll adjourn and remind everybody that we do have the open house about the property for the circuit court building starting at 1 o'clock. And then starting at 6 o'clock and after. With that, we'll adjourn.